Bore da, croeso, welcome to what is the cushiest Creative Mornings Cardiff we've ever had, I think. We've got a fantastic speaker for you today, and for me personally, when Laurie and I took over hosting, one of the things I really wanted to do was bring local businesses and the creative community together so we can create this sort of ecosystem, and then all these businesses don't get all their work done in London and they come to our own community and see what talent we have here in Cardiff and beyond. So yeah, it's an absolute, I'm so chuffed that we can get West Pizza, we've got Art Market, we've got Broad, we've got Hardlines Coffee, all coming together to support our community, and I'm so glad so many people have come. I know you only came here for the pastries, but no, this month's theme is pattern, and I do have to read something out. It's chosen by a Chennai chapter and illustrated by Nishant Saldana. It's inspired by the art form kolam, which features a pattern of dots that are connected by straight and curved lines. The practice is deeply rooted in South Indian culture to welcome guests into the home and bring good fortune and prosperity. Well done. I really like this, though we were having a chat earlier whether they're frogs or ghosts. But anyway, I did enjoy it. Just a few thank yous. We've got Carolina here taking photos today, and Carolina is an awesome photographer, especially her stuff with live music. Just going through her work is incredible. It's quite experimental and stuff, and yeah, it's just great to have her here taking amazing photos. We do put our photos onto a Flickr channel. It's called Flickr, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, you can see all your lovely faces in about a week or so. Also, just a quick thank you to Art Market, West Pizza and Broad, the socials here. I'm just going to hand over to Dav just to give a quick overview or chat about what this place is. Do you want to take it away?
Croeso, welcome. My name is David. I was set at Art Market Cardiff about 6 months ago. Basically to be a place which champions local artists but also makes art more affordable, more attainable. I wanted to create a space which wasn't just a gallery, but also kind of more able to browse in and be a bit more relaxed. That's why it's full to the brim with houseplants, so it may not be great for squeezing in, but yeah, they're nice and green. I also wanted to make the space so you can move it around and host great events like this. I never envisaged having this many people when I said that. Thank you very much, and I'll hand over to Liz.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah, and just to introduce Liz, I'm sure many of you know Liz already. She's a very talented graphic designer, podcaster, and the freelance guru, as I found out recently, as I've just been raw dogging her podcasts, just like, oh my god, I need this information, where were you all my life? Incredible, and yeah, really looking forward to her talk about patterns. We are sponsored by, well, we're supposed to say partnership. We have a partnership with Adobe, and Liz has very close ties with Adobe, an Adobe ambassador. So I'm sure there will be a few mentions of our sponsors today, but a big thank you to Adobe and Creative Collective, who are doing, like us, great things to get our creative community together, talking together, collaborating, and doing great things. Anyway, that's enough of me talking. Liz, take it away.
Thanks. Okay, I've got 2 confessions before I get started. First of all, hang on. ChatGPT came up with this title for me. I would never have come up with anything this fancy. So, patterns and possibilities, how patterns shape creative thought. Second confession is I don't normally dress this fancy for talks either, but this is the only pattern thing I have in my wardrobe. It turns out I like designing patterns, not wearing them so much, so there we go. So I want you to think about the last time that you saw a pattern when you were out and about, because I think we're just so drawn to patterns, and I don't know if you're like me, you really notice them when you're yeah, like just going about your day. And I think part of that is because they're so prevalent in nature. So these are quite sort of like clean stock photography images, but you can see them in so many different instances in nature, but also in the world around us, in the man-made world around us. So these are a couple of photos that I just quickly snapped in my house. If you are very familiar with Cardiff, this picture basically tells you exactly where I live based on the tiles. But everybody comments on these tiles when they come into our house, and these are ones just at the front. And there's just something so satisfying about patterns. Like, people just are really drawn to them. I think it's, you know, like the order, the repetition, the sort of like familiarity of knowing sort of what comes next is really appealing to people. So I've been making patterns and sharing them online for a really long time now, and I guess it kind of started, so I'm a branding designer and I always create patterns for my clients. So this is a client of mine. It's a skincare brand based in Cardiff. And this pattern's like super simple. It's just their logo and some dots, but I always love to provide my clients with patterns because I think it just adds depth to the brand and it just gives them so much more flexibility about, you know, with what they can do. So for example, on packaging, like it's great for like tissue paper or tape, and you know, like when you get things from small businesses in the post, like it's just so satisfying, you know, when everything's got these like little details on and they're like really nicely branded. So I always provide patterns for my clients, but I also just love making them fun. And basically, so I've got a bit of a silly story, which is I love to understand how things work, and I don't know about you, but like actually how patterns tile is a bit of a like mind bender. It's quite hard to understand. So I would make these patterns in Adobe Illustrator, and you click a few buttons and they just appear. And so I decided, right, how does this work? So I decided to do them by hand, and I recorded this video of me making a pattern where I basically drew it on a square, cut the square up, moved the pieces around, stuck it back together, filled it in, and then showed how it would tile. So I made this video and I put it on Instagram and nothing really happened. And then, like everybody else in lockdown, I set up a TikTok account. And I was like, oh, well, I've already made these videos, I'll just put this one on. So this was the 4th video that I posted on TikTok, and it went very viral. So I had 2.4 million views on this pattern. It's not even a good pattern. I just used some like green ink that I had lying around. I think I spent about 10 minutes putting the video together. But it was interesting. Afterwards, I sort of analysed why I thought it went viral, and I think it's because it's something that people find really confusing. The video was very fast for what it was that I was showing, so people watched it loads of times, and then I think a lot of people saved it because they were like, oh, we want to come back and do that. And I had loads of really nice comments from people saying about how like it helped them understand, you know, how they'd been making patterns for years, but it helped them understand like how the process worked. What was quite nice about this is I went viral for something that wasn't remotely controversial, so it pretty much had just nice comments. I'm going to share some other comments later that were a bit more frustrating. But anyway, this is a really interesting experience, and I went from 50 TikTok followers to I think like 7,000 overnight, and it was like I got addicted to like refreshing the number. It just like kept jumping up, and I just couldn't believe what was happening. But what it made me realise is that people are just obsessed with patterns. Like, they just love it. They love understanding the process. They love seeing like how things work. So I carried on making lots of patterns, making videos and sharing them. And so today what I want to do is share 5 creative lessons that I've learned from making patterns, and also some of the opportunities that it's given me from just showing up and sharing them online. So the first one is challenges. Now, if you follow me anywhere online, then you will know that I love setting myself challenges. So whether it's trying to get loads of projections, doing a reel a day for a month, I've done like ones to do with patterns, all sorts of challenges. I did one where I showed up on stories every day. And a couple of years ago, I took part in a pattern challenge by this incredible illustrator. I would definitely recommend going to check her out, Melanie Johnson. And so every now and then she does a pattern challenge where there's like a prompt every day for a month. And so I did one of these challenges and I loved it. And I was like, I want to keep doing this, but I can't do a pattern every day for the rest of my life. So me and another friend of mine, Ocean, set up our own pattern challenge, which was where we create one a week for a year, and it's called 52 patterns a year. That's the hashtag. So we started doing that, and we created our own prompts. And so every month we release these prompts and other people can join us if they want to. And we kind of just did it for ourselves, but we were like, we'll put it out there and it'd be nice if other people want to do it too. So the first year we did just a single word as the prompt. This year we're doing a mashup edition where we pick 2 things, and actually, like, I helped write these prompts, but some of them are absolutely hideous. Like, I'm really struggling with some of them. I also, one of them, I put it up and I put a typo in, and so it was meant to be candy floss and crowns. So I'm there happily designing my candy floss and crowns pattern, and then realised that I put candy floss and crows. And so all these people were like really struggling with it, and they were like, I mean, this was such a weird prompt. We've got this pattern with crows, and then I was like, oh, here's me with my crown pattern. So that was a bit awkward. People were a bit annoyed about that. But then, so this year when we started the mashup edition, I used to share it where it was just like a still pattern and then like a mock-up. I sort of committed to making all of them as reels. So this was one I did right at the start of the year, and I posted this on Instagram, and this one went not as viral but semi-viral. It had like 3,000 saves. And again, I think people are just so fascinated by the process of it and like to see how it was done. So this was one that I did on Adobe Illustrator. And a cool thing, I love how sort of things that we just kind of do for fun and by accident lead to something else. So this pattern actually went on to inspire an Adobe Live I did. So this is where you have to design a brand in an hour and a half while people are watching you. It's actually really stressful. But I basically, because it's a fictional brand, I actually started from the pattern and created the brand around the pattern. So that was like a really fun experience that came off the back of that pattern. And again, people just like love seeing the process. So fascinated, and this is all coming from me just setting a challenge for fun. Now, another struggle that I have with this challenge is that, like, it's so, well, the thing I love about it is that I'm making patterns not for a client, so it's not for anything like commercial, it's just for like my personal development. But when I start mocking them up, obviously, as a creative, I want to start a million other businesses. So last year, I became really obsessed with the idea of starting a sock business. And then I messaged my friend Hannah, who is Tom's wife, and I was like, right, Hannah, I'm going to set up another business. It's going to be a subscription sock business. So every month, people get a different sock. I still think it's a genius idea, but she was like, absolutely not, Liz. She was like, you haven't got enough time to run your like first business. Don't start a sock business. So I put this one on the back burner, but this is still like a dream of mine to design socks. But it's just so fun. Like, mock-ups are so good now that you can like see how they would look on physical products, and like some of them are really weird. Like, I would never have thought to design a sock with feet on it, but because that was the prompt, that's what I went for. So that's been a cool aspect of the challenge as well. And then the other thing about it is like limiting what I can do. So like limiting by color palette, by time. So like this one, for example, I only had like 10 minutes because I'm doing them every week. If work's really busy, I have to like try and fit it in. So I just set myself a timer and I did this pattern, and actually this turned out to be one of my favorites, but you know, I was totally limited on what I could do in that time. But I actually find that really inspires me creatively. Like having those limits on what you can do is really, really helpful. So this is a quote that I really love that I found from, I tried to put in a quote for some of the lessons because I thought that was a good thing to do, but Joe Knorr, creative tension is needed for innovative thinking, to create alternative ideas and to challenge established mindsets. And I've definitely found that like when I limit myself creatively, like give myself parameters, some really cool things happen. So the next thing that I've learned is about community. And what was really cool is because we shared our prompts, people started doing them with us. And so we set up this hashtag and loads of people have started sharing their patterns. I have to admit, sometimes I get really jealous because other people do way better interpretations of the prompt. So I'll be scrolling through and I'm like, oh, I wish I'd thought of that. But it's just so amazing to see how everyone like interprets the prompt differently. Like really clever ideas, and it's just really inspiring. I've like built relationships with other designers and like being able to chat to them and get to know them, and that's all been because of this challenge, which has been really cool. And then like things like this is just so encouraging to me. So I got this message a couple of weeks ago from someone who, I think she's literally done every prompt that we've done in the challenge, and at the end she's like, I've learned so much from doing it and have far more confidence when designing because of it. I'm really so grateful to you and Oceana. And it's just like amazing that this thing that we just did for fun, like for ourselves, is like helping other people, helping them gain confidence. She's now using a lot of her patterns in her products because she's got a product-based business. And it's just, yeah, it's amazing to see where that's sort of like developed for other people as well. And yeah, community is like much more than just belonging to something, it's about doing something together. And I think in like the creative sort of industries, like finding those things that we have in common and that we can actually like do together and enjoy is really inspiring. So my next lesson is progress over perfection. And I'm sure a lot of people will relate to this, that when you like share your work online, you know, you want it to be perfect, you want it to be super polished. And what I've basically done with this challenge is I forced myself to share things that I've created that I didn't like. This pattern, I think the prompt was book and rose, and I just think it's horrible. I just hate it. But at the same time, I put it out there anyway. Another one I did was rainbows and heels. That one was even worse. I couldn't find the image to put in here. And I tried to be honest in the caption. So I was like, I don't think this pattern's that great. Definitely not one of my favorites, but I'm sharing it anyway as part of the process of taking part in the challenge. And I think for me, like that's been such a valuable lesson. Like, to share the progress, to share my learning as I go. Like, I'm not the best pattern maker, but like I'm sharing, you know, the different tools that I'm making it in, what I found difficult, and I think that like people have really connected with that and resonated with that. And it's also made me try things I wouldn't normally try. So like this isn't a pattern that I would normally share, it's not really in my sort of style, but it was really fun to try something different. And this one I actually quite liked. And it forces me out of my comfort zone, and I share them anyway because that's sort of like part of the challenge and part of the process. And then cool things have come out of that. So just by sharing the patterns, even the ones that I haven't loved, I actually got like a job to design a pattern for an item of clothing, which was so cool. They also did them in kids sizes, so obviously I bought one for like everyone in the family. But then afterwards discovered I am not the matching clothes of your kid, mum. I thought I was, and then I like got them and I was like, no, we are never wearing these all together. It was absolutely ridiculous. So we all had to like alternate what days we wore our jackets on. But this was a really fun experience to buy a product. I wouldn't normally quote Winston Churchill, but perfection is the enemy of progress, and like that's definitely been my experience as a creative. When I get like bogged down by making sure that everything's perfect, like it really does hold me back. So I'm trying to embrace, you know, sharing the stuff that isn't perfect and sharing the process of learning along the way. So my next lesson is order out chaos. And I think one of the things that like draws us to patterns so much and why they're so satisfying is because it just takes all these different things and it brings them together in this really ordered way. And as like a branding designer or as just a designer in general, I definitely experience that in my work. You know, where you've got a brochure and you've got all these images and you've got a Word doc with text and you've got these illustrations and you bring it all together and you make this order. And there's something just so satisfying about it and seeing it on products. So like these are some icons I created for a client, and then this is the pattern. And there's just something so satisfying about seeing them repeated and in order. And this is the logo for that branding project. This one you can't really see, but this was a pattern that I created for my sister who was getting married. I created them some save the dates, and I took all of the elements from the save the dates and made it into a pattern that they can then use in their wedding. So basically, if there's any opportunity to make a pattern, I'll like do it anyway, even if no one's asked for it. And then my last lesson is to find your own way of doing things, because there's never one way to do something creatively. There's always different ways to do it. So for some of the patterns, again, because this was not for work and not for client work, I could take risks and I could try different things. So this one, for example, oh, it looks like it's corrupted, but anyway, you get the idea. I basically had a load of painted, I think it was when I was trying to choose a wall colour, I had loads of painted bits of paper, and I chopped, there is supposed to be pattern in here, I just like to say that's not part of it, but I basically chopped up the bits of paper, glued them all together, you know, cut it all up and scanned it in, and it was just really fun to do something, like I love doing things by hand when I can, because that helps me understand things so much better. And there's so many different like valid ways to make patterns. So like this one, for example, I started experimenting with the vector brushes in Adobe Fresco. So there's like this jitter brush, and this isn't the sort of thing that I would normally do for clients, or this isn't really my style, but I was able to like play around with different methods of making patterns. And so coming back to the viral TikTok, what happened was So I created a few other videos. So before the one that went viral, I had a video showing you how to make a pattern in Adobe Illustrator. And then like a few after, I showed it how to do it in Photoshop. But what was really funny is I did this one, which was like a really weird process for tiling a pattern, which was I did it in InDesign. So InDesign is my first true love, and I don't think anyone else loves it, but I love it. And so I do it, right? Yeah, InDesign. So I tiled my pattern in InDesign, and the people on TikTok did not like that. So they were like, oh, you can do this so much faster if you do it this way. And I'm like, I know, I literally have a video showing you how to do that. And so like, my whole point with sharing this is like everyone's got an opinion on how you should do it, what the fastest way is, what tool you should use, but actually there's so many ways to do it. And so I think what I love about that is it just gives you the freedom to find the way you want to do it. So have a play around and find your own way of creating these things, and forget the people who like smugly tell you the right way to do it, and just do it the way that you
Sorry,
want to
that
do
was
it.
me. Pizza party.
So these are the sort of main tools I use for creating my patterns. So Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop. Photoshop has a cool like offset way of doing it, and then Adobe Fresco, because I love doing things like where I'm drawing more. But yeah, and then doing them by hand is just so much fun. So yeah, those are my 5 lessons. Set yourself challenges, find a community, progress over perfection. It brings order out of chaos, and find your own way to do it. And that's it. Thanks.